Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo.
Science has sent orbiters to Neptune, eradicated smallpox, and created a supercomputer that can do 60 trillion calculations per second. Science frees us from superstition and dogma and enables us to base our knowledge on evidence. Well, most of us. Previously, I've explored how organized faith and primitive religious values blight our lives.
You take the women and dress them like whores on the street.
I don't dress women, they dress themselves.
No, but you allow it as a norm.
The fault line runs deeper even than religion. There are two ways of looking at the world, through faith and superstition, or through the rigors of logic, observation and evidence, through reason. Yet today, reason has a battle on its hands. I want to confront the epidemic of irrational, superstitious thinking.
Would you understand somebody on the spirit side with the name Charles? I believe that I give...
You really believe it?
I believe absolutely.
Seriously,
100%
you believe it?
that is true, because it's been proven to me against my rationality.
It's a multi-million-pound industry that impoverishes our culture.
Astrology leans toward the divine and the sacred, words which I know you don't like very much.
And throws up New Age gurus who exhort us to run away from reality.
The tree-ness is the spiritual quality.
Or the rockness.
Or the rockness.
Yeah. As a scientist, I don't think our indulgence of irrational superstition is harmless. I believe it profoundly undermines civilization. Reason and a respect for evidence are the source of our progress, our safeguard against fundamentalists and those who profit from obscuring the truth. We live in dangerous times when superstition is gaining ground and rational science is under attack. In this program, I want to take on the enemies of reason. "300 years ago, in the Age of Enlightenment, scientists and philosophers from Galileo to David Hume had the courage to stand up for intellectual principles and reason. The rational science they pioneered has given us tangible benefits. Everything from antibiotics to electricity, sewage systems to sat-nav. And it's not just material progress. Increased life expectancy, health and leisure provided by modern medicine and industrial technology have given more people more time than ever before to educate themselves, express their creativity, and ponder existence. And yet, into this better world that reason has built, primitive darkness is coming back, a disturbing pick and mix of superstitions. Where better to start my journey than a New Age fair?
Hello, what do you do? What sort of readings do you do?
All kinds. I do the tarot,
Yeah.
And then I also do the crystal ball. This is George.
Hello. What can you do for me?
All right, well, we can take out all the photographs.
All right, I'd like that, yes. What do I do? Just sit on the throne there?
Just take a seat, please.
Shall I take my glasses off?
Oh, what have you got here?
Right, now, you have got a couple of spirit guides around you at the moment, because I think there's something in your life changing, but I think this is about you as well, being more comfortable with yourself. Now, what you have here is you have somebody in spirit who's really, really close to you, and they've got their arms around your neck.
Well, that's very nice to know. All these people reap the rewards of science and reason, but many here revel in a foggy suspicion of scientific thinking.
Okay, so you could teach me how to use my psychic energy.
Yes.
Is that the idea?
Yes. You can rely much better on that than on your head.
Irrationality is woven into the fabric of modern life. We unthinkingly indulge unscientific delusion.
I'm the rather rather schizophrenic Gemini.
Aquarius.
Pisces.
Astrology is so pervasive that just about everyone has been indoctrinated with the alleged character of their star sign.
They're fiery, a bit unreliable, they love traveling, they're very expansive, they're quite spiritual.
Loyal, spend too much money, good leader.
They can be a bit moody, swinging one way and the other. They can be very bubbly 1 minute and then a bit down, and you never know what you're going to get with them, my husband says.
A full quarter of the British population claim to believe in astrology. That's more than believe in any one of the gods touted by religions. Day in, day out, astrological horoscopes get far more newspaper column inches than science. Amusingly, it falls foul of our modern taboo against lazy stereotyping.
How would we react if a newspaper published a daily column that read something like this? Germans, it is in your nature to be hard-working and methodical, which should serve you well at work today. In your personal relationships, especially this evening, you will need to curb your natural tendency to obey orders. Chinese, inscrutability has many advantages, but it may be your undoing today. British, your stiff upper lip may serve you well in business dealings, but try to relax and let yourself go in your social life. And so on through 12 national stereotypes. Of course, the astrology columns are not as offensive as that, but we should ask ourselves exactly where the difference lies. Both are guilty of facile discrimination, dividing humanity up into exclusive groups based on no evidence.
So now I want to find out how those who trade in such irrational nonsense can possibly justify what they do.
This is a map of the cosmos with London in the very centre.
I always thought that by the 21st century, science and reason would have long since cleaned up. And yet every day of the week, we're encouraged to retreat into the fog of the superstitious past. Astrology is a primitive belief system made into elaborate pseudoscience. It arrogantly makes humans the focal point of the universe. The movement of planets is supposed to signify petty developments in our career or love life. It was developed in the 2nd century AD by the philosopher Claudius Ptolemy and has not moved on since, despite the discovery of new planets and despite a shift in the Earth's rotational axis that has thrown Ptolemy's zodiac out by 23 degrees.
You could ask a question. You could say, who has stolen my money?
It never made sense when it was first invented, and it makes even less sense now.
Read it off as though you mean they get it right. Do you think there's an actual physical influence of the planets that somehow beams down and influences people?
I think it's very hard to see that. I think if you try to understand astrology as a causal agent,
right,
I think that's hard to imagine how that would happen. I think you have to look at the planets as signifiers. When you look at the movement of Saturn around the zodiac, it's a very strong signifier of what's going on in individual lives.
I don't even understand how they could possibly be signifiers. I mean, how could the rise of Saturn possibly be a signifier for something that's going on physiologically in a person's body? The position of planets in the signs of the zodiac.
This is what you keep coming back to ask me. How could it possibly work?
Yes.
And I've told you, I don't know. It's a deep, dark mystery.
What isn't a deep, dark mystery is why the trite vagaries of newspaper horoscopes seem to chime with readers. Psychologists have identified what's known as the Barnum effect, whereby people tend to believe statements are accurate for them personally, when in fact they're general enough to apply to anyone.
We could devise a little experiment where we take your forecasts and then give some of them straight, give some of them randomized, sometimes give Virgo, the Pisces forecast, etc., and then ask people how accurate they were.
Yes, that would be a perverse thing to do, wouldn't it?
It would be, yes, but I mean, wouldn't that be a good test?
A test of what?
Well, how accurate you are.
I think that your intention there is mischief, and I think what you'd then get back was mischief.
Okay, well, my intention would not be mischief. My intention would be experimental test.
Okay.
Scientific test.
Well,
but even if it was mischief, how could that possibly influence it?
I think it does influence it. I think whenever you do things with astrology, intentions are strong.
I'd have thought you'd be eager. I mean, I'd have thought you'd really... See, the fact that you're not makes me think you don't really, in your heart of hearts, believe it. I don't think you really are prepared to put your reputation on the line.
I just don't believe in the experiment, Richard. It's that simple.
Well, you're in a kind of no-lose situation then, aren't you? Because,
I hope so.
Yeah.
Regardless of Neil Spencer's concerns, I wanted to conduct a simple trial. We selected 20 people at random. We asked them to read that week's horoscope for Capricorn, but as a test, we said it applied to their own star sign.
Not only do you have clever Mercury and ambitious Mars focusing on success,
But now the sun is at the same pivotal mid-haven angle of your solar chart.
I have no idea what that means.
Put simply, this means that this is your moment to go that extra mile to become the person you dream of becoming.
Remember, however, that there will be others who want what you have and will stop at nothing to get it.
Astrologers say this should fit just Capricorn and not the rest. But what actually happened?
Yeah, maybe.
To be honest, I felt there's some Mercury energy this week because there's a lot of arguments around and a lot of bad vibes. Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
What a load of old junk.
It could apply to me as much as to the next person.
Was it? Yeah, well, in a way, yeah. I am. I'm going on a flamenco course in Spain.
That isn't necessarily pertaining to me this week. It's pertaining to me generally.
Kind of rubbish.
The same number of people agreed that the horoscope was accurate for them as disagreed, and similar results are found with proper large-scale experiments. Technically, all but one of our group should have disagreed, namely our only Capricorn.
Does it apply to you?
Not at this moment, no.
Am I taking this too seriously? I believe astrology misleads the public, denies scientific progress, and belittles our universe. There's a far richer way of looking at the cosmos. Astronomy is a triumph of the human intellect, a real science, constantly enriched by new evidence.
Forget about the astrologers' charts with their constellations and planets moving in and out of this house or that house. Go into a real observatory and look at the Milky Way. Or go out into the country on a moonless night. Just lie on your back and gaze up at the stars.
The heart-stopping sight you'd see is 100 billion stars spinning through an expanding universe at a speed of 1 million miles per day. The light from some of the closer stars started its journey at the time of the dinosaurs. You're staring into a deep time machine. And yet, even as science unravels these natural wonders, our society is drawn to the slim pickings of supernatural belief. Half the British population now say they believe in paranormal phenomena. Over 8 million of us have owned up to consulting psychic mediums.
What I want you to do, Richard, for me is just to pull me out 8 of them, please.
Simon Goodfellow claims that, with these cards, he can use his psychic powers to tune in to the spirits of dead people around me.
7, 8.
These voices from the past can apparently give him a glimpse of my future.
Lovely, Richard, thank you. Now, I feel he's giving me the initial G with his name. OK, now I feel with this man as well, I feel he was a family member. And I also feel very strongly with something to do with advertising that was in, something to do with newspapers with him as well. Now, I do feel with him as well, he's telling me about changes that are coming up in your life at the moment. I see total changes in how you're working to how you will be working in the future.
The word Simon seems to be fishing for is retirement, the obvious next step for most 60-somethings.
It won't be as hectic and it won't be as active for you. And I do feel you have to grasp that when it...
This could apply to anyone my age, but can Simon back up his more precise statements?
What was that male relative with a G? What was that about, you said earlier on?
Right, the male relative with a G, right. I do feel with him, I don't feel he was a family member, but I do feel with him, right, it was some connection.
I thought you said he was a family member.
Did I say that? Did I with a family member?
Yeah, I think you did.
Right, okay.
Maybe.
Let me see if I can feel him here still.
Yes, okay.
Right, okay then. What I feel with him, right, I feel as though there was a lot of things. It was a very strong character. Another feeling he's given me is it was very regimented as well. And I feel he served in the forces in some way as well. But can you understand anybody with a military background that was connected to you?
Well, I've got really nobody military in my background at all, and actually nobody beginning with G either.
Right, okay.
Spirit G has rung no bells, but now another voice comes from the ether.
Oh, well, she's given me the initial E with the name. Now, I do feel with her as well, it's something to do with, I feel, a grandparent, and I want to give you an E-sounding name.
My grandmother had a name beginning with E.
At last, something I can identify with.
E-sounding name.
Yes.
Tell me more about her. I mean,
the lady, I do feel with her as well, she had a lot of cats.
A lot of
cats.
Perhaps not.
She never had a cat. She hated cats, as a matter of fact.
Right.
She liked dogs, but she hated cats.
Well, I can understand. Not everybody, though. What you've got to also remember with this as well, not everybody can relate to everything that a reader will say.
No.
Not everybody. I mean, I've had people like yourself who have...
Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
Because normally people who come to these events come for a reason, and because they want closure and direction in their life. And also what you've got to think about, Richard, as well, some things are very raw to me.
Psychics may believe they communicate with the dead, but I've seen no evidence for it. My concern is that for some people, this superstitious nonsense can be far from harmless fun.
If you've lost somebody dear to you, and I'm trampling all over those memories by telling you that they're here now saying this and that. I mean, that's none of my business, and if I'm just doing it because I can earn some money out of it, I've known cases of people that have lost a child that's so dear to them, and they cannot get over the fact they've lost the child, and become addicted to these... Okay, this is a lady who is trying to connect with somebody at the front here.
Darren Brown is a celebrated illusionist, but also a skeptic. He makes clear his performances depend simply on mental tricks.
She looks very, very elegant, and there's guilt on her part, a feeling of guilt. I think your father passed when you were very young as well. Is that right?
He gives me the inside intelligence on how a psychic medium might exploit entirely earthly trade secrets.
They're using a skill called cold reading, which is a way of communicating information to somebody where it sounds like they know everything about you and they can reveal facts seemingly about your life and describe your character in a way that you'd be amazed by. Whereas in fact it's a linguistic trick, or a set of linguistic tricks, where they're saying words and you're constantly supplying the meaning yourself, but it can be very convincing. She's asking about, I want to say Charlie? Charles? The psychic will, if it's with a group of people, throw out a name. Someone she left behind? Now, that name could refer to a person in the audience who's living, or it could refer to someone that's died, or it could be a friend of the person. You know, it really could be anything. So it's up to somebody to pick up on it and turn it into what they want it to be. Is it another relationship that you had? Sorry? That's my ex-husband's name. And of course, if they say, yes, that was my husband, then the reader can go, yes, that's right, he's here, he's saying he still loves you, or whatever that is, and they turn it back into, make it sound as if they were saying it was your husband, when in fact it could have been anybody, it could have been the name of the person that sat there. Lily or Lucy or something like that. Yeah. Far from it being all vague or saying things that apply to just everybody, you'll get very specific details. She's saying something about a hat that you used to like, or something with a hat, yeah? One thing I saw was, there's a dog, he's saying something to do with his dog that used to sleep in the hallway.